Good morning and welcome. Welcome to my weekend live stream, Fight CPS, with your host, Bob Pace, and Hang On to Our Children. I've been doing this live stream now for 18 months, and it's been a challenge. I started in October of 2023. And I'm on twice a day, 7 days a week, month after month, year after year. And I try to share you what went wrong in my CPS case. Yes, I was a victim of CPS. And it was a tough case. I'm still reeling from it. In the process, I lost one of my children, my daughter, the age of 12. I lost a home. I lost a future for any job. And my family and I are living with a very low income. We're at the poverty level, which I'm ashamed because I was never there. I always paid my bills, always had a job, always took care of my family. Now, on the weekend, I'm on at 8 o'clock in the morning. And during the weekdays, I'm on at 10 o'clock in the morning. Then every night of the week, Monday through Sunday, I'm on at 7 p.m. And I, too, want to help you very, very much with your case. Because I hate for any of you to go through what I went through, and a lot of you are. A lot of you are. I lost a daughter due to retaliation by CPS. My CPS, the Child Protection System, was what I call it. That government entity is Orange County, California. Very corrupt. One of many corrupt rogue entities that have gone bad towards parents. Now, 14 shows a week I do. I've talked off stage. Boy. I'm using another computer, by the way. I've been borrowing my son's because my computer just went off the deep end. It just went off the deep end. And I'm here also to talk about CPS. Any questions you may have or concerns about your case, I'd love to help you. I also have a big family here now after 18 months. I have about 20 or 30 people that come on every time, twice a day with me help you all with their experiences of what they're going through. A lot of it, what they're doing or saying is rough. A lot of it is. I do have guests on my live stream. I had Victoria yesterday evening, and she had a horrible case. They said that she had mental problems, and they tried to give her drugs, and she went along with everything they're trying to do because she thought that's what she's supposed to do. They're not clinical psychiatrists. A lot of them are so bad and so mean. They come with an attitude when they come to your door like you parents are no good nothings. They stomp their feet, they slap the books, they try to be toughy. They try to be tough guys or girls or whatever. Simple things like knowing your constitutional rights and civil rights will help you. Do you know that you don't have to speak to social workers from the CPS or from the police? You can tell them very nicely who you are, but you need your attorney present because this is a legal matter. And by law, You're allowed to have attorney represent you through all legal matters. Did you know you're not allowed, you don't have to allow them in your home? Those are two mistakes that people make right up front. I made them. You don't have to give them permission to enter your home. You don't have to talk to them. And the easy way to diffuse the situation is don't answer the door. And if talking to social workers are intimidating, how about the policeman that shoots 5 times and kills you in the chest? That's a reality. There was a black Air Force airman in Gainesville, Florida. The Gainesville Sheriff Department was doing investigation for domestic violence, had the wrong place. The guy opens the door while talking to his fiancee on FaceTime, and the sheriff opens fire 5 times. He dies on the phone. He dies. Bullets are real. Bullets kill. And there are some bad policemen out there that do not know how to use their firearm. I don't know what is so hard about disabling somebody. At worst case, shoot them in the foot or the hand. But to shoot them point blank, you can't bring back a life. Once the person's dead, they're dead. Yes, they're fired. They may get a civil lawsuit, but they're never criminally prosecuted for killing. They never prosecuted for killing. So I emphasize, don't open the door. There are only 3 ways that they get in your home. One, if you give them permission, you open the door, or maybe one of your family members opens the door. 2, there's violence going on in the home where a child is at risk. You can hear the scuffling, the crying out, the screaming, the yelling. There's something going on. They're going to bust in. And the third way is that they have a warrant. But the problem with warrants, there's so many entities, social workers especially, they use fake warrants from previous cases, the wrong dates, the wrong names. You have to look at that warrant closely. And if you're outside and they show you the warrant, just say, fine, we will meet at Starbucks or at the library or at McDonald's and talk about this with my attorney present. You're complying with their request. You're complying with their request. But I try to start off a little bit different every time with my live stream. It's an interactive live stream. You can do emojis. You can send me stars. Also, please check below if you want to follow me and do some reviews. That'd be great. And if you want to be notified, hit the notification so when you get me when I'm on. Now, I know 8 o'clock on the West Coast may be early for some of you, especially on a Saturday after working hard all week. But Vincent has a live stream at about 10 o'clock, 10:30. And by the way, you can call that number on my screen, 888-888-6582. That's the law offices of Vincent W. Davis. He's my attorney. And he's quite an attorney. He has 39 years of fighting CPS and he's got back thousands of children. He is schooled and trained in juvenile law, family law, and dependency law. Those are the 3 areas of law that your attorney should have. Plus, he has experience of doing that. He's a trial attorney. And furthermore, he can sue CPS. He's done that numerous times, civil lawsuits. Once your case is closed, he can sue, and he's gotten back millions of dollars from CPS. He's sued both in state court and federal court, so he's a real deal. So when you call that number, you're going to speak to reception. Tell him that Bob Pace sent you. And if you want to hire him or talk about his retainer, just ask for Mr. Davis. Also, make sure when you talk to Mr. Davis, you tell him that Bob Pace sent you. The number is good also to find out the live streams that myself or Mr. Davis is on, or Mrs. G, or Deidre. There's lots of us that do a live stream. There's KK Richardson in New York, Brooklyn, New York. So you can find a schedule of live streams. Also, if you'd like guides or books, how to fight CPS. There's also other books too about divorce, about criminal law, immigration law, real estate. He has attorneys for everything that you need for your legal needs. It's a good law firm, and the books are affordable. They're guides and books and so forth. In fact, the latest book he has out is The Grandparent's Guide, Step by Step to Adopt Your Grandchildren. It's for grandparents, but it's also can be good for parents. And it's set for California, but it'll work in other states. Just follow the procedures. Grandparents are part of the family. CPS will say grandparents aren't, but they are. They're kinship, aunts and uncles, grandparents, cousins, siblings, brothers and sisters. They're all part of it, not just a mom and a dad. CPS will try to tell you that. Everything that CPS says, you have to, take into account that that they lie and they'll cheat, they retaliate. I know from firsthand experience. It's a money-making machine. They make trillions of dollars every year off the government. The money comes from the federal government. Then it's sent in the billions to the state. And the state sends it in millions to the county, to the entity, to the child protection system entity. Every county, every state will have one. Also, every country will have one. And I mean countries, because I have right now over 22 countries that have either texted in or asked questions on here or even called in. I have Leica from South Africa, country code 27. I have a mum from England, country code 44. The latest one is Republic of Congo. But I have India and Bangladesh, Indonesia, the Middle East, other parts of Africa, then up to Europe, then over to North America. All 50 states have called in, including the District of Columbia. Then going south, I've had South America, Central America, going across Pacific. I have New Zealand and the land down under Australia. So that's some of the countries. There are 22 of them. And they too have a similar issue that you're going through. And what they share is helpful. It's a worldwide epidemic. We need a child protection entity. We need that because children, 1,000 every day, are gone unreported. So I'm not saying all CPS is bad. It's just that there's a lot of rogue ones, and there's a lot of you that are struggling. One thing everybody seems to have in common is their low income. Low income. I once had a home. I once had a great job. I lost a job through no fault of my own. I once had a nice salary, but now I'm low income. You're like in a sand pit where you're trying to crawl out, making meager wages, Bangladesh wages, as I call it. And you got employers that barely pay you. I have one job that I'm owed thousands of dollars. And after 4 weeks, I finally got some money. I mean, after a month, I got some little bit of money that won't cover my rent. It's ridiculous what you all have told me what you're going through. And I too am still going through this nightmare. I've been fighting CPS for 15 years. And they did me wrong. They did me wrong. And I want to tell you what, if I knew now what I knew back then when I was involved, I would never have had my children taken. There are 5 rules, and you need to get a professional attorney. You need to do documentation. Number 2. Number 3, you do not talk to social workers. Number 4, you research the internet about CPS. And number 5 is you collect copies of documents. You make copies of all your documents. Now, I will talk more in detail on those. My shows do have them. So if you watch, all my shows are recorded. So you can listen to it again there. Um, I live in a noisy neighborhood. Sounds like someone's alarm's going off. Sometimes I have my neighbor that likes to play his guitar in his garage. There seems to be lack of respect. Yes, it's a low income neighborhood, which is surprising because I'm one of the wealthiest counties in the country, Orange County. I live in Surf City, USA, 3 blocks from the beach. It's a nice place to live. I once had a home that overlooked the beach, a beautiful home. But I had to quick sell it to hire an attorney. I have 6 children that I've raised, and 3 of them are adults, old enough, and they have children of their own. And then my 3 youngest were living with us when CPS put fangs into me. They're animals. They don't care. They don't like their job because they think they're not paid enough. They do deal with some bad parents, so I know it is a tough, tough job. It's not an easy job being a social worker in the child protection systems. The government passed a law in 1962 that Congress passed, and it said that social service would be responsible for creating an entity that protects our children from neglect and abuse, but also that they do family reunification because studies have shown the best parents are the biological parents to raise children. There are bad foster parents as well as there's bad CPS. It's not all nice and rosy out there. I don't know why, but it really is. These people overstep their boundaries and they take along the police with them to enforce things that are not true. And the police are like guinea pigs, they're used by CPS. The purpose of the police are to protect the social workers, not to carry out the CPS's wishes or arrest you or tie you up or intimidate you. They're very intimidating when they come out in their combat gear and their vests and so forth. And a lot of them have bad manners. They don't know how to speak to. They have no people skills. They think they're tough and they think they have a chip on their shoulder about them being killed so easily. And yes, it's not. It's a thankless job. I admire the good policemen, but they're far and few. In my early years, I had to take police training to protect and proudly serve the public because I worked as an ocean lifeguard. And so I had to take some police training, how to make arrests, how to subdue somebody. A lot of you don't realize that the buoys that we carry with them, we use sometimes as defense weapons. They're very hard in someone's chest. But you pose to learn good people skills, how to work with people, how to talk to people, how to show people that you care. If a mandated reporter calls in, and that's usually someone professional that works with children, a policeman, a doctor, a nurse, a school teacher, those kind of individuals do that as part of their job. They're required by law to report negligence or abuse, and they've taken classes and training in that. So the mandated reporter will report something like the doctor will notice there's bruises, or the teacher will notice there's bruises, or the kid comes to school late all the time, or disheveled clothing, or look withdrawn, lack of food or sleep. They're going to report a suspected neglect or abuse. And 75% of the time, they're right. The other kind of reporters are your lay people that are, family members, grandparents, sisters and brothers, family members, your neighbor next door, your acquaintances at the store, the grocery store, and things like that. If they see something, they may report it. The only problem is they're only right about 50% of the time. 50% of the time. The other times, they've fabricated a story because they don't like the neighbor's dog, so they call wolf on you. Or they don't like the yard overgrowing your yard, so they retaliate. A lot of the unmandated reporters are trying to do revenge against a neighbor, or maybe it's a spouse. They want to have control of the children. So they make a false claim. You never want to call CPS unless it's serious, unless someone is hurting a child or a child being neglected and left alone unsupervised. Because CPS will open a can of worms. And I want to tell you all that you should always call 911 first. Do that first because there's a public record of that call. If you call the police or poison control or the CPS or individual entities, sometimes these entities are corrupt and they'll lose it. They'll lose that information. So if you call 911, they're recorded, they're a public entity, and they'll record everything. Then they make the decision of who to contact. If there's a suspected fire or shooting or a car accident or a missing child or something like that, you call 911. You call 911. That's people should call first. I mean, you can call 911 and say suspected child abuse. Neighbor has locked his children outside naked. Call 911. They'll know what to do. They'll know what to do. Plus, it's recorded. Hello, Christina Reynoso. Thank you for the thumbs up. Appreciate that. Also, Krista Reynoso says, I spent my 17th birthday with a butyl couple. He was an Army recruiter, and she was a secretary for the government with two boys. They were wanting to adopt me. She spent her 17th birthday with a beautiful couple. He was an Army recruiter, and she was a secretary for the government. They had two boys. They're wanting to adopt me. I didn't know that, Christina. So that was when you were 17 years old. What happened, Christina? Were you adopted? Were you in foster care as a child? What happened with you as a child? I learned so much more, Christina. She's one of my family, and she's in here. and she's a very supportive and very good woman. But as a parent, she's had problems with her children with CPS. That's the problem you got to realize, that CPS keeps records. So if you're into foster care as a child and you grow up and you have children of your own, they'll come after your children. Sad to say. I know that because I've talked to numerous people. There's a lady in Kentucky named Faye, a beautiful woman, who was a foster child all her life. And they came after her with her children and took away her daughter. She had to choose between keeping her boy or a daughter and boy with special needs. You should never have to be put in that situation. They're corrupt today. She had a double case of pneumonia for a couple months and she's recovered. But they harass her all the time. Police send police drones over her house. It's so sad. And right now, people are calling and they're talking to their senators or representatives, and they do nothing. They call their civil rights coordinator at the state level. I'm now telling people that you need to go to Doge. Now, a lot of you may not know what Doge is. It's doge.gov. That's the web page. It's the Department of Government Efficiency. It's an initiative by Trump administration in January, tasked with cutting federal spending. It emerged from discussions between Donald Trump and Elon Musk. The administrator is Amy Gleason. And it's a temporary department, too. Now, it was established by executive order on January 20th. Doge members have filtered influential roles at federal agencies. That granted from enough control of information systems to terminate contracts for scientific research, climate change initiatives, and diverse equity and inclusion, the DEI programs. Doge has facilitated mass layoffs and the dismantling of organizations. It has also assisted with immigration crackdowns and copied data from classified government database. It's supposed to weed out the bad elements government waste. Um, they have two phone numbers. Now, you can go to their website and learn a lot of information. And the reason why I'm sharing it with this is that I want everybody to call in. They have two phone numbers at the White House, area code 202. Um, the other day, someone put up the phone numbers for me. Let me get them here. The two numbers are 202 area code 456 1111. The second number is 202 456 1414. And I'm only sharing that with you because some of you are at the rope Santa who to talk to. Call up Doge, tell them you have a bad case of corruption with CPS. And they will investigate. They'll investigate. Those are really great numbers. Now, Christina Reynosa says, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to be editing. Remember my little girl piece. I have two different cases, not including my little girl's piece. I need to make it where I can take care of my boy and work. I'm still holding out on the moment, though. You asked me some questions. It's just a long story. I know, Christina, it's you have shared your life with me, so I appreciate that. I'm just trying to help out the listeners because your story could help others. Because right now, the child protection system is very corrupt. There's a lot of it is corrupt. I wouldn't say 50-50, but there's enough bad ones. And if over 1,500 people have something in common, that's 1,500 people too much, or 1,617. I don't know the exact numbers. I'm only estimating. How I determine that basically is that when I take my calculator, 18 months times 4.33 weeks a month, that's 78 weeks times 7, that's 546 days times 2 is 1,091 shows that I've done. 1,091 shows, live streams. And if I average 5 people in each show, that's over 4,500. So, wow. That's a lot of people. I was estimating over 1,500. Anyway, it's a lot of people there. And I'm here to help you. And thank you, Christina Reynosa. And I'm glad that you're here because I know that you care enough and you've helped out so many people yourself. Now, if you want to text me a message, make it a comment or a question about CPS. Please state your name, your city or county, and your state. And if you're from a country, your country. Also, please tell me about your CPS case from the beginning to where you're at the moment. Now, to be a guest on my show, all you have to do is pick one of my 14 shows. Just say Saturday morning, Friday night, Wednesday morning, Monday night. And you're going to write to my producer, my show producer, who's Grace at vincentwdavis.com. It's Grace at vincentwdavis.com. with the date and the time you want to be on our show here. And she'll in turn send you a link to StreamYard, which is a software application I use to broadcast on YouTube. To broadcast on YouTube. I have 7 Facebook rooms linked to this YouTube that I'm transmitting on called the CPS Defense Attorney Vince Davis. That is the room that I'm broadcasting out, and I have 7 Facebook rooms. So if you find me on Facebook, Fight CPS with Bob Pace, or one of these other things, Fight CPS, you'll come to this YouTube room. And I'll see your questions. So if you're still in those Facebook rooms, I'll still see your questions. Now, besides being a guest, you can also call me. That's my number. That's my office number. It's 626-698-0990. And I'll talk to you live. One thing nice about talking to me live is that if you're a guest or make a phone call, you're eligible for a free 15-minute consultation with Mr. Davis, who is worth every 15 minutes you talk to him. You make a list of and um, uh, Grace, my show producer, will put you on. Oh boy. I was hoping that someone's going to call in. Ugh. Now I've lost my phone number. Why did the number go off? My number was there. Where did it go? Put it back up. All right, sleepy people. What would you like me to talk about? I did have some things I was working on. A lot of you don't have the income, so I'm going to talk again about free legal help in CPS cases. Now, navigating the complexity of child protection cases can be overwhelming, especially for those without legal expertise. Access to competent legal representation is essential, as these cases involve high stakes concerning your child custody and parental rights. Understanding where and how to obtain free legal help can be significantly impacted defending one's interests effectively. First, you have to understand CPS cases. Now, child protection cases revolve around the welfare and safety of children, often arising from allegations of abuse, neglect, or other circumstances endangering a child's well being. CPS aims to ensure children's safety while balancing parental rights. Well, that's not true all the time. Through legal procedures and investigation, which can be daunting for those involved. The process typically begins with a report or a complaint. Now, that report or complaint is from two kinds of people: the mandated reporters, the professionals, doctors, lawyers, nurses, police, fire, or the layperson, family and friends, acquaintances, and people at the store, and so forth, which will prompt a CPS investigation. They have to within 24 hours. The sad thing is, anybody calls wolf, CPS takes it seriously and believes it's true. So you're guilty. If someone calls in and says, I see this neighbor take a whip out and whip a child, they're going to say you're guilty right off the bat until you're proven innocent. So it's the only court of law where you're guilty until you're proven innocent. Every other court of law, you're innocent until you're proven guilty. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Now, within 24 hours, they're going to investigate. They probably won't have very much. That's why they like access to your home. That's why they want to talk to you. They want to gather up information, and that's where you got to be careful about with the investigation. Now, the investigation, there's 5 rules to answer CPS interview questions. And all of you that have a CPS case, there was a knock at your door. And on the other side, you don't know who it is. That's why I say you don't answer it. But it could be a CPS investigator. The investigator says that they received an allegation that you committed child abuse or neglect, and they want to ask you some questions. And I have a question for all the listening. Do you know how to answer their questions? Do you know what questions you refuse to answer during your CP interview? And it's always highly recommended that you have an attorney present when you do this interview. And I understand that everyone can hire an attorney at a moment's notice. If you decide to go it alone, there are a few things you need to know. Also, you need to know how to defend yourself during the first 30 seconds of your CPS interview. The first 30, and this is if you allow them to talk to you or you allow them in your home. You can save all this to later by not answering the door or talking to them. When you do get into this interview, this is what I'm talking about will apply to you. The first 30 seconds of your CPS interview are the most important. CPS investigators have repeatedly lied to parents to gather incriminating evidence. They'll make up stories and lie to you, then use that evidence to place children into foster care and initiate criminal charges. Listen to that. Listen to that. That's what happens. To protect yourself, you need to record everything. Even if the CPS investigator objects to the recording, you still legally are allowed to record them using video, audio, or both. An easy way to do recording is a public place. You're allowed to record at a public place, a library, McDonald's, Starbucks. That's where you should meet, not at their office, not at your home. Now, Texas is a one-party consent state when it comes to recordings. As long as one party to the conversation consents to the recording, then the recording is legal. The one party consenting to the conversation can be you. So don't let CPS investigator tell you that you're otherwise. Now, hopefully, you have an attorney present in how you start your CPS interview. Is this something you all be interested in what I'm talking about? Um, I have some other things I can talk about. I just don't know if that's what you like to hear. I don't know if that's what you want to hear. But early on, those things can be helpful to you. Now, don't forget when you're going to start a CPS interview, you need questions. They're asking you questions and you counter back. Before we get into the questions that CPS investigator will ask you, let's discuss the questions you need to ask them. You need to ask the CPS investigator to tell exactly what the allegations are against you. It's so important that you find out what you're being accused. Take your time during this portion and be thorough. Take very detailed notes and force the investigator to go slowly and point by point. You have to resist the urge to defend yourself or explain away the allegations. Remember, you're trying to gather information. Use phrases like, just to confirm, you've given me a complete list of allegations against me, correct? Ask follow-up questions about the allegations. For example, if CPS investigators said they received a report that you're using marijuana, then give as much detail as you can about the specifics of the allegations. Ask, did the reporters say what the allegations happened? See, they're not going to tell you who the reporter is. But you can ask them, did they say when the allegations happened? Did the reporter say where this allegation happened? Did the reporter say how they learned about this allegation action? Did the reporters say whether they personally observed the allegations themselves? It could be a hearsay from a friend or family, whatever. Your goal is to learn everything that CPS knows about what the reporter allegates that you've done before they can change their story. Though, as whether the reporter is a professional reporter or layperson, professional, teacher, doctor, counselor, etc. The reason it's so important to learn about the allegations against you is because the allegations will guide the rest of your CPS interview. Now, the protection of your rights. You're not a criminal. Now, my goal in sharing this information is not to protect criminals and child abusers. Our goal is to protect the constitutional rights of parents. If you're a child abuser, then you should be caught and you should be prosecuted. Children deserve our protection. And it's important to be educated because sometimes CPS attacks innocent parents, but it's terrible. And the interview will never put them in a home that I believe is dangerous. I'm not going to start that again. Now, the questions they're going to ask. I can't tell you every question they're going to ask, but I can tell you the general categories. Now, this interview can take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. There's background questions they're going to ask. CPS is generally a questionnaire that tend to follow during the CPS interview. It's very invasive. It has very little to do with the case they're investigating. During your CPS interview, you can expect to be asked your parents' names, where you grew up, whether you're in foster care as a child, how you're disciplined as a child, about 50 other questions that have absolutely nothing to do with the allegations against you. The scary part about this is that every answer you give them input into a government database. You have no obligation to answer any of these questions during your interview. So I would refrain unless you have an attorney there that says when you can answer a question, when you can't. Remember, you have no obligation to answer any of these questions during your CPS interview. No obligations. You're now going to understand the importance of learning every detail that you can about the allegations against you. The lawyer will stop the CPS interview during these invasive background questions to inform CPS investigator that my client will not be answering any questions that are unrelated to the allegations of abuse or neglect. You got to stay focused, and that's what a good attorney will do. Of course, the CPS investigator will be upset. They'll get annoyed. They will lie to you and tell you that you're being uncooperative in an attempt to give them information that you don't have. Be polite, be firm. Be polite and be firm. Is this helping you, Christina Renoza, during the interview? And the rest of you in my room? Now, the questions will come up about abuse and neglect questions. That eventually the CPS investigator will get around to asking questions about the allegations. What you remember here is the CPS investigator is an agent of the government. They may not be wearing a badge or a gun, but you should answer the questions just like you would any police officer. Again, I don't think you should answer any questions without an attorney present, whether it's a police officer or a social worker. Now, you should invoke your right to remain silent because everything you say can be used against you to terminate your parental rights as well as your criminal prosecution. There are 5 rules to answering questions. Rule 1, do not lie. If you insist on answering questions, then you should be honest. If you're caught lying, then all your credibility will be lost should you ever need to testify in your defense. Rule 2, focus on the allegations. You should have already learned the allegations against you. So when CPS begins asking questions that relate to those allegations, like the background questions, remind them you aren't willing to answer questions unrelated to the allegations. Rule 3, stay calm and professional. Remember, there's a high likelihood that you may need to play this recording in court. If the CPS investigator claims that you're confessing to something that you didn't, the judge may view you more harshly if you're swearing, being derogatory, or making threats. Rule 4, feel free to stop the interview at any time. Just because you begin to answer questions doesn't mean you're obligated to continue answering the questions. Inform the CPS investigator that the interview is over and politely ask them to leave so you can hire an attorney. If you're uncomfortable or if the question begins to take an unexpected turn, then trust your gut, get out while you can. Rule 5, get what you need and then stop the interview. If you want my honest thoughts, then here's what you should do. Ask the CPS investigator every possible question you can think of about the allegations against you. Then stop the interview. At that time, you'll then be in a much better position to hire an attorney and have answered all the questions that could harm you. Now, I don't know if that does help you a little bit because some of you are beyond that stage of the investigation, but some of you may be just starting out. Now, we have about a minute left of my live stream. And I want to thank you all for joining me this morning, early in the morning. Now, I'll be on again tonight at 7 p.m. 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then again tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Don't forget Vincent's show at 10 o'clock this morning. If you have questions, answers, you can actually talk to him on the show. Call the number 888-888-6582 to find out how you can listen to him. I'm glad you spent this hour with me. Please hang in there. Do not give up fighting for your child. Your children are your most precious. They're so precious. And I know you love your children. There isn't one day goes by I don't, think about my children I've lost, It is hard out there, but hang in there and know that God loves you. And I want you to have a blessed day, but don't forget to not keep fighting for your kids. This is Bob Pace signing off.